Breakdowns.
Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. We are on episode number 61, and this is a good one because I am a fan, and I'm just gonna be fangirling the entire time, I'm sure. But I'm excited. Today we have Yasmeen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, great. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to come out today. Especially, I know you played last night, so I know it's. Days after shows, you normally just kind of want to chill out and stuff like that. But you were saying like it was a good show.
Good show, pretty chill. But yeah, no, I was excited for today. So.
Yeah, good. I'm happy. Yeah, I was wanting to go to that show because I've seen you play live once at the Freeman. Mm-hmm. But that was like the 3-hour set thing where they're super like long.
Yes, yeah.
Do you normally like do a lot of shows like that as well as like just your original stuff?
So like 3-hour sets or just
like longer ones.
Longer ones. Yeah, we've done like I think maybe an hour and 15 minutes at Ruins. Mm-hmm. We had Ravs who opened up for us, and then we did the rest of the set. But typically, I think we did like a New Year's Eve gig that was like 4 hours long.
4 hours.
Yeah, it went from like what was it, like 9 or it could have been 8 to like midnight, 8:30 to midnight.
Yeah.
It was. We thankfully we got like a 30-minute break, but yeah, I think that's the longest me and my band have ever played.
That's quite a long set.
I was tired. I was ready to go home and sleep. So yeah.
Are you normally the one like to stay up till like midnight and like do something or?
Oh yeah, I'm a night owl to a T. Like my schedule is probably not that great, but I mean. But when you're like actually physically doing something for like 3-4 hours, you're ready to just like, all right, time to go to bed.
I can definitely imagine that. And the reason I wanted to make it to the Cave Show was because like being a shorter set, you play a lot more of like your original stuff, and it's what I was really like looking forward to hearing concise into one set. But you're staying busy. You have a bunch of shows like coming up.
I do,
saw I
yeah.
think the next one is like at Dr. Jekyll's. Is that right?
Yes, we have a benefit show this Friday, which we just got the flyer up and running. It's been posted. But yeah, it's a benefit show for the Turkey and Syria earthquake victims.
Yeah.
So there's a relief fund, and we're going to be donating all the tickets and the any donations really, and anything that goes into the benefit show is going to go towards that.
So this is something that you actually helped put together, right? It was kind of part of like your idea was from what I was seeing. It's something that seemed to like really impact you, and for the most part, from what I get see, a lot of like these like social type issues do like impact you, and you're looking for ways to kind of help. But how was like that process for you to try to do something?
Like everyone, we just kind of saw what was going on in the news, and I felt kind of helpless, just kind of being here, like, what can I do? What could I do? And I know there was a few donation type setups throughout the DFW, which was really nice, but I kind of wanted to see if I could put something together, just like the local music community and see what we could do to help. I just kind of did like a cold, post and said, hey, who would be interested? And I had quite a few bands and artists who reached out to me. And so we put a lineup together. And we have a vendor, Lely Pops. She sells, Lely, she sells candy and stuff. And her band are going to be performing at the show too. So it'll be a good time for a good cause. But yeah, I'm excited.
That's really cool. One, to see, easily finding like other people who want to help and participate, but also like being able to take like what you do and tell. I think like from what I gathered, what you were like posting is like, I want to use kind of like what I have to offer and figure out a way to use that to help. So that seems like a really like really cool and like noble thing to do, and it's just another thing that builds that community thing around you, where so you're not too sure like who's gonna want to do something like this, and then seeing the reception and being like, oh, everyone's trying to hop on and help is really nice. So that's really cool. That's on the 3rd. This won't be out by then, but we'll post up the flyer and everything.
Totally for you. Good. Thank you.
But yeah, I want to hear like how this like your music journey got started. You've kind of been I've kind of been getting glimpses. Like I saw like you were in an a cappella group too, like recently you went out, but like what was like the main source of like the start for this for you?
Sure. We could start from the very beginning.
We're going. We got time.
Yeah, little kid, just growing up in Waco, Texas, and my mom would always just put on the radio, and I would be singing, in sync, Justin Timberlake, Britney, and then it wasn't until I think I was maybe in 6th grade, and I was like, I want to do like a talent show.
Yeah.
My mom was like, "Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Are you sure?" You want to support your kids, right?
They're the harshest critics,
but like at the same time, you don't want them to be like embarrassed on stage. So she was like, "Can you sing in front of a bunch of people?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Let's give it a try." So yeah, I ended up like doing like 6th grade talent show, and it was so much fun. Yeah. Like I don't know what prompted me to be like, I want to be on stage and I want to sing. But I knew I liked singing along, and so had my talent show, and then I pretty much did talent shows every single year. And then in high school, I joined show choir. I was a gleek, unfortunately. No, but honestly, like that's what made me want to do show choir. Yeah. I know, honestly, what a life-changing show. I loved that show, and
you felt seen.
I did. I was like the only freshman that made it to like the show choir, so it was a good time. Singing and dancing, and then I got to college. I went to the University of Texas at Arlington. Oh, okay. I studied mechanical engineering there, and I just knew that I still wanted to have music a part of my life. And my mom was very much like, focus on your studies. I'm like, I know, but I still wanted to do music. Yeah. So I joined like choir there, and then my second year there, I found out there was like a pop a cappella group that they were starting. Okay. And ended up meeting some really cool people. Some of them my best friends to this day. But we got to do so many amazing things. Like think Pitch Perfect, but like actually Pitch Perfect. Like we went to finals in New York City. We performed in Carnegie Hall.
What? Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Yeah. We made it. It was such a good time. And again, like, and the person who led that group, his name is Caleb Moore, which I recently just did, not really a competition, more of a showcase. Yeah. It's called Acapalooza. A&M hosts it every year. But we went and we had a good time. But yeah, these people like changed my life, really. Like the experience that I've had. We did like a National Cheerios commercial. We were on WFAA. Yeah, we did so many cool things. Like we were on Patti LaBelle's Christmas album one year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we did some pretty crazy things. It was a good time. Yeah. Really good time. Graduated, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And so I just thought, well, why not write my own music and actually do something about it, which was scary because I've never written music. Yeah. I'm not even like musically trained, or like I don't know anything about music theory. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I just know that I love singing and I want to keep doing it. And it was right around when the pandemic happened too. So it wasn't like I could go to like any kind of open mics. I kind of just sat at home and was like, okay, well, I'm forced to be at home and like actually write. So I started writing music, and my first song that I ever wrote, which is the title track of my debut album, Pure Bliss, wrote that, recorded it with this group called PTO. They're really cool. They're like a rap duo, but they produced the song for me, and they brought it to life, which was really cool. And I got some really cool feedback, but obviously like when you write your first song compared to like how you've evolved as a writer and singer, like I listen back to my old stuff, I'm like,
it's good. Like,
I still love it, but at the same time, I'm like, ooh, I've definitely evolved from that.
I think it's just seeing it from your own lens of like I know that I'm so much better now, or just like how your writing progresses, and you wanna. You want everything to have been like that, but you got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
But, I mean, if you're starting from somewhere, that's a really good start.
I know. But yeah, I ended up writing Pure Bliss. I wrote, I think 7 other songs, made it into an album. And then pretty much when I was writing the rest of the songs, that's when I started trying to perform. So I was like, okay, I got to get a band together. Like, who do I know? And thankfully, because of that a cappella community and knowing people from like the music scene at UTA, I was able to, connect with a few people. Ended up settling on a really cool band, which is the Jays. Yeah. That name has come up because pretty much every single one of their names starts with a J.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we literally were just like, all right, we're going to call it the Jays. And I've been performing with this specific band since November of 21.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
well, quite a while now.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. Well, we had a few changes within people. Just either didn't fit their schedule, or things happen.
Yeah.
But like this band, I love them so much, and they've stuck with me since pretty much the beginning. So
I like that honestly, like I'm a big fan of like using a full band like for
Yeah.
everything. That's what I quite a bit enjoy. So I like that was like one of your first like initial thoughts is like, oh no, I need a band if I'm gonna do this, because it just brings a whole different like dynamic to that live show.
Exactly.
And it's really cool just being up, like I said, up on stage with like your friends and like bandmates, to play live shows together. And I just like I don't think there's like replacing that energy of like that full
absolutely.
band kind of thing. So it's really cool. But so the first album, all the songs were with you said Pete. What was the name of the group?
So I think some of them were produced by PT. I think majority of them were produced by PTO. And then I had my guitarist who also helped produce Mommy's Lullaby. I wrote that for my mom.
Yeah.
And it's also has a Afghan folk song, which I'm Afghan, by the way. I'm Middle Eastern. I don't know if anyone knew that. But like my mom would like sing me this song. It's like a lullaby that's been passed down from like generation to generation. But it's a well-known song within the Afghan community, and I kind of wanted to incorporate some of my heritage into my album somehow, some way. And so I kind of wrote that song and added some English lyrics to it to dedicate to my mom.
Yeah.
But Jesse Katz, who's my guitarist, he helped produce that one.
That's cool. I was gonna bring up that story because I saw you post recently about like the story about it, and I thought that was so cool. I think being able to bring part of your culture into like what you're creating, it just makes for like a more genuine and authentic experience of like who you are, and I'm a big fan of anything that adds like an extra like just layer of like authenticity, or just like shows more of like who you actually like are, because it all the roots where you came from, like what you grew up with, like all the elements that you learned, like you said, with the a cappella group, where you got your music taste from, like you're talking about like NSYNC and Britney, like
Yeah.
so all of that culminates and like is what creates that creativity of like what you're writing now. And then you've been after that album, like you have been dropping quite a few like singles like throughout the year. Which the first one that I heard was Drive, which I really like, and it's kind of like what got my like eye to be like, all right, I need to pay attention here, okay. But oh my God, On My Mind like just made me obsessed. I'm like, this is so catchy. I'm like, it's so good.
Thank you.
And how do you, so from like you were saying, like the progression of like how you write now, like, so what do you think has like changed to like the newer songs that you're putting out? Like, what's the difference there in like the creative process for you?
I think something that changed, I think, just kind of also getting the experience of performing some of my songs live. For example, like Do It Over Again. There's a lot to unpack in that song, and it's a lot of lyrics, a lot of words.
Yeah.
But writing these new songs, I think also experience, even just in my personal life, kind of affected the way that I've been writing. And also, I feel like when you write your first stuff, you just kind of write to write. But then when you start kind of performing and, kind of getting adjusted to the music scene and trying to promote yourself, I kind of started to not also write for myself, but also write for how do people perceive this song, or how will they enjoy this song. So like Drive is very much like a summer type, roll your windows down type song.
Yeah.
And I really wanted, even though it's not very like emotional, if you want to say, it's very, I just wanted to write some kind of like a summer pop bop song.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what inspired Drive. And then On My Mind, that was kind of based off of a personal experience in my life. Also just influences, like you just said, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, and then also some of the newer R&B and newer pop that we're hearing today kind of also influenced my writing. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it all influences, like, no matter like what like you're listening to, like it's gonna end up in some kind of bit of that. But that's cool. The writing with like the purpose of like an idea, like what you were saying about Drive, like, oh, like something like to roll your windows down. That's still like an image, and I'm like, how do you translate that image into music?
Exactly.
So, I think it's a really cool way to keep just interesting for yourself, like to write stuff, because that's what'll keep you being creative and liking to actually do what you're doing, and liking to write, is to find ways of like what's gonna make this like a fun experience, like for me and for like the audience, especially like once you start playing live shows. Yes, you start seeing like, you know, what do audiences react to, like do they dance to these parts, like do they, you know, are they just like kind of vibing like to these stuff. Like at the Freeman show, like I saw people like dancing, and like in both like ways I saw people just like just kind of jumping and dancing, and then I saw some people literally like hugged up and like we're just like dancing. I'm like, this is so cool. Like I mean, that's and just music in general, like that's the thing that you create like in environments like for people to have like fun in, and I don't think that's ever gonna go away because people like enjoy it way too much. But on those new singles, I did see that you just recently did they're not ALG stuff, but Austin from ALG, you did the sessions on that. Was it just, I know 2 have been released. Was it just 2 that you ended up doing, or was it like?
So we did Drive, live version of Drive, which is really fun because we incorporated horns, or trumpet and sax. Yeah. And then we did Something Good, which is from my album, Pure Bliss. We did like half of Something Good because Again is the new single that I just released about a month ago. It's kind of short, so we were like, let's try to like, you know, maybe what if we mixed it up with another song that we usually do live. And so we came up with like half of Something Good into Again.
Yeah. I did notice that on that one when I was watching. I was like, wait, like this, I go Again doesn't start like that.
Exactly.
Like maybe like pay attention to it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That experience just must be fun. Like he's got such a like cool setup. Like,
oh my god,
it's amazing.
It's
like,
so cool. We showed up. We were like, what? You won't expect it when you're like see it from the outside, and you come in and you're like, wow, this is really cool. Yeah, it's a really cool setup.
No, he's like from what I've seen, he's been like working really hard on doing like stuff. He's like super creative. He's coming by like after you.
That is so cool.
He's coming by like
he's
later.
Amazing.
Yeah,
he's great. He like reached out to me. He was like, hey, you want to do this? And I said, yeah, I want to do this. Well, me and my band have been talking about it, and we were actually in the middle of trying to set something up, and he was like, hey, we have like a studio, like we'll record y'all, we'll have video. And I'm like, sign me up, let's do it. And they did, and I know Tanner, he did an amazing job of mixing and mastering the 2 songs. But yeah, the band had a blast. They were so excited.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. That just looked really fun.
Exactly.
To be part of. So with so like I said, you wrote, I mean, just starting off, you wrote one song and then you wrote an album like right after, you know what I mean? So not the most I guess common setup, like to write an album like right after like your first thing. And then you went on to like kind of writing singles. Is that kind of where you're headed a little bit, or preference towards more to maybe just drop like a song every like few months and stuff, or are you working towards something?
I really don't know. So my idea was when I first dropped Drive, I was already writing, like Again was already written. On My Mind, I think was already written. So I have like I just ended up finding out recently that I have like 8 songs that I wrote that I haven't really done anything with. No, yeah, and it's probably just because either I want to keep working on them more, or I just haven't had the time to just sit and record it, or get it produced. But or I'm not like too in love with it yet. I think I have to re-listen to it. But I don't know. I didn't really have like a game plan. I think when I dropped Drive and then On My Mind came out, I was like, okay, maybe I could do like a 5-song EP. And then I wrote Again, and then dropped that. So I it's weird because usually I do have I'm very plan oriented, project oriented. So I don't know. I think I'm just kind of doing what I'm feeling at the moment, which I'm trying to learn to do more of. I don't really like live in the moment and actually enjoy myself in the moment. Okay. I'm always thinking and planning ahead, and I'm always worried about what I need to be doing in the future. And I think like sometimes that can be a good thing, but sometimes that can also kind of set you back and not allow you to actually enjoy what you're currently doing in the moment. So I'm just either an EP or an album. I'm not sure. I'll keep writing until I feel like, okay, this is great. Let's see if I want to compile this and put this together. So
the planning and living in the moment, like I think you both, there's that balance like to everything. So the other side of that, if you're just living in the moment, then you're like, oh, I'm not prepared at all for like anything coming forward. And I'm sure like it's it is yielded results in the past to be like super planned. You know what I mean? Like I was just super. I realized that I was like, oh yeah, like she's an artist, and I was also like, oh, she's a mechanical engineer. I'm like, that's so awesome. I'm looking at, I'm like, there's like that multi-talented, but that's hard work to get there. You know, so it takes that planning. It takes you having to pay attention to some stuff. But then if you overdo it, you're right. You start missing stuff like that is happening now. So definitely that approach, I think, will be very like beneficial to like the music that you put out. As far as like lyrical content, you were explaining a little bit about that. Is it mostly personal experience? Like from your point of view, or do you try to write like from just stuff that's happening around you, or to
I mostly write from my own point of view. That would be cool to start thinking about different POVs or other people's viewpoints. But no, mostly everything I've been writing is just from my own point of view.
I did see a lot of lyrics like which fits the genre into like relationship stuff and things like that. Is that does that feel more like cathartic whenever you're doing things like writing songs about those experiences, or is it kind of difficult sometimes because you kind of have to keep thinking about some things? Like they're not like all the nicest songs, so like or vibes.
No, I don't think it's bad. Like I still enjoy performing. Like on my mind, I still enjoy performing. It doesn't make me upset or sad. I think when you perform, especially with how long I've been performing, even just besides with the band, just performing with a cappella groups and always kind of being on stage and scene, you kind of have to, default into to performer mode. So any kind of emotions that you might feel, sometimes you don't want to overdo it, or I don't want to say suppress emotions. I definitely try to utilize as much emotions as I can on stage. But like for anything like really, really, touchy or emotional, I kind of, gotta be put on my performer face, So,
make it more about like the actual like song and like
exactly.
music.
So like if I'm happy and I'm singing about, oh, like you're on my mind, like I'll play into that. Right.
Yeah. I feel like that in my experience, like when I like used to have a band and write music and stuff like that, that's the tough subjects that I would write about. It would help me because now I'm like, oh, now like there's music to it and it sounds good and I like it, and then whatever like the tough topic was, I could get through it way easier because it like helped me like put that emotion out. It's out and I'm like, oh, now it's a song that people are out here like dancing to or doing something to, or jamming out to, and it kind of takes that away. Plus, like I think when you're performing live, you're just like so in the moment of like playing that. I've only had, I think, one experience where it got me, and I was like, oh, like I went too far, and now I'm like, I was like, then I did like get all super emotional, but for the most part, like I get I'm just glad to be up there and like playing and like nothing matters.
Exactly.
Which is I always explain it as like an experience that like to people who don't perform or do anything like that, it's really hard to explain like what that feeling is. But you've been doing it for like quite a long time, so I'm sure like now it just kind of feels like just your natural state of like being. You also worked with Holder or Santiago, which I had in here, and we were talking about that. And he's such a like good guy and like producer from what I can tell. Do you, when you work with producers, I'm always curious, since you were saying like your writing style is not a lot of the instrumentation, so you work with like a group or like producer and stuff like that. How is that experience normally like when you go in? Do you like have an idea, or what's your like kind of process there?
Sure. So usually I have a solid idea with what I want. I think Holder may have mentioned it during his interview, but I usually come in already with some kind of like some loops or stuff that I have already lyrics written out, kind of idea of what exactly that I want, what I want it to sound like. And then I just probably need like bass, or I need something like just some different lines to kind of make it into an actual full-fledged song. And he's so good. He reads my mind. I don't know how he does it. But I send him like pretty much something that I've already worked on, like a demo. And then he goes to work. He'll be like, oh, I want to add some guitar here, and then I'll record and he's like, oh, you should add a harmony here, and I'm like, yeah, okay, this sounds cool. But yeah, he like brings it to life, but usually I have already a pretty solid idea of like what I want it to sound like.
So you say like loops and stuff. Do you like work on your own? How long? Like when did you like kind of get into doing that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I didn't do a lot of loops and stuff for my first album. Everything was kind of like from scratch, and which was fine. It was a little terrifying, but I kind of like. I like using some kind of loops because it helps me like have an idea. Because sometimes if you're just starting from scratch, that's really hard. It's really difficult. And it's great that there's like things like Splice that's just out there for you to use to just start generating an idea. Like let's say, oh, I want to do some kind of like disco pop type song. You could find whatever you need just to just start your idea, like just some kind of starting point. And then of course I'll take that loop and then I'll just kind of build from it. And sometimes I also utilize my band members to record. So like for Drive, for example, Keys is actually my keys player, Jenna. Jenna, from Cherry Mantis. Yeah, she's so good. But yeah, I had her play keys, and then Jonathan Holder, who's my bass guitar player, he laid down the bass track for that too. Okay. So yeah, it's cool getting to just and the loop, I don't know if you can hear it in Drive, but it's that like very beginning like guitar sounding distorted sound. Yeah. That's the only loop. Everything else we just kind of built and wrote, and Jenna was like, ooh, I think a cool little keys melody during the chorus where I'm not really singing would be amazing. And then sax and trumpet were like, oh, we can arrange something real quick, and you'll hear it on the live version. Yeah. But when we perform it live, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
I think that's the coolest part about working with other people is that moment where stuff starts getting added on, and it's just like ideas that you maybe wouldn't have had or hadn't had, and like someone else comes up and is like, this, like, oh, that is cool, you know? Because I always bring this up. I go, man, at the end of the day, like everyone's just trying to make a really good song.
Exactly.
And when you have people excited to like add something to it, it normally ends up pretty great, like because everyone's actually trying to like make something cool, and working, even though like you know. I feel like you're set up as like kind of a solo artist. You are, I think now, because of like the band performances and the way like your music is written, it kind of just like has that band feel, which like it's, again, like I said, I'm obsessed with. Like I love like that feel and that just the way that energy translates from live performance and into like recordings, which is I think something that's really it's definitely not underutilized, but I always like to see when like I said, a solo artist has like a band with them that they work with, and then now knowing that you work with together on like writing stuff, like is just way like, you know, it makes me even more excited about that. So you have a back catalog of like stuff that's just like not out anywhere. You said that most of it is because maybe it's not there yet for you, you know, like you keep listening to it. Do you ever find it to where, like I said, there's a balance to this, but to where you might be trying to make a little bit too many adjustments, or like how do you know like when it's ready for you?
That's a good question. I don't know. Sometimes I'll just know when it feels kind of empty, or when I'm like, the lyrics are not really what. Sometimes I'll just go back and like rewrite. You know, I don't know. It's just, it's hard to say when I'm like, okay, this is it. Because for Drive, like I wrote the lyrics, I wrote, you know, everything, and I was like, okay, I want to, like, I'm ready. Let's record it. Typically, I'll know when it's finished. Maybe when I'm like done writing, I'm like, okay, this is it. I don't feel like I want to change anything. I'm actually okay with what I'm singing here, or what's, you know, going on here. So I think with the song, and again, some of the songs I feel like maybe ready. I just haven't had the time to actually sit down, listen to them again. Because sometimes your mind changes after a couple months. You're like, okay, let me listen back to that track. Well, you know, I'm not so sure about that one anymore. But and I think some of it's just time. I've become so busy with my professional work, and then the music stuff and the gigs, and just and doing all of that all at once. So I really just I think I have like a whole month where I'm not really performing or doing anything, which will be good to relax. And usually during those months where I'm not really performing, or like not too busy, or I'm going to school currently too, so there's a lot that's going on. I really just need like a good solid month just to actually sit down and go, okay, what do I want to do with my music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I mean, but yeah, you need time to do all these
Exactly.
things. And then, you are trying to do a lot of things like at the same time.
That's always been, like, even when I was getting my bachelor's, everyone's like, Yasmeen, you need to slow down. I'm like, I know, but I want to do all of this.
Yeah.
So
Like, it's just like whatever feels comfortable
Exactly.
to you. And then, like you said, when like you'll have a good month, like, cause I think what gets a lot of people is burnout, like all the time.
Oof, yes.
And it happens so frequently. And I realized when I started to like experience it like more and more frequently, I was like, man, like I would try to take breaks, and then it wouldn't really be a break, and it would just like, then it would go too long, and then I'm like, oh, now I'm like behind, and it would just like keep rolling into it. So by the time I catch up, I'd be burned out again.
Mm-hmm.
But and then with some of my friends who are artists and things like that, that's what happens. It's like, well, we go at it so hard for a minute that all of a sudden, like, it's not fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my last band that I had, that's kind of what happened. We went at it so long, and then we went behind on releasing stuff to where the stuff that we were releasing was like so old. And then the stuff that we were like wanting to put out and write was just like, oh, this is the stuff we want to put out, but we don't have the time to like get this stuff done. Like, we're still catching up on the other stuff. And then it got to a point where I'm like, we're not having fun anymore. You know what I mean? And it should be like, you should be writing the stuff that like you enjoy doing, what you actually like are gonna want to listen back to. You know what I mean? Like, you should like be hyped up about like the music that you're doing. It should still make you happy and stuff. Yeah.
Agreed.
But that's like, I've been trying to start like a new project get a new project off the ground, and that's like my sole thing. I'm like, there's no purpose to this other than like, I just want to write stuff. Like, I just want to write stuff and put it out, and we'll figure out like what the vibe goes from. I was like, let's just make it fun.
Yeah.
That's about it. But yeah, like I feel like that's a big thing that gets lost in these days with the idea of the like overnight success kind of thing, and like especially like with TikTok and stuff like that now, where it's all about like, let's blow up.
Exactly.
And it depends. It works for some people. Like I've seen it work for like artists that have like their own catalog, like they've been working like on being a musician. But then there's the other side of it. It's like, oh, we're just writing music for the purpose of it, blowing up. And then I think it loses a little bit of that authenticity of it, and then people like don't know how to follow it up sometimes, because I've seen people like have one song that blows up, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do now. Like, I need to write another one and figure it out.
Exactly.
How have you been like experiencing that space of like just like online, like having to do like social media in order to like, I feel like it now has become a part of like being a musician too.
Sure. So I've always been, I feel like, kind of savvy a little bit with social media. I feel like, especially when you're learning on, when's a good time to post, what content to post, is really important, because I know so many really talented people, but they don't really utilize social media that much. And honestly, kind of bites them in the butt when it comes to like promoting or people to get, to listen to their music. I don't know. I know the whole TikTok thing. I post on TikTok, but I usually post like my live performances on there. I'll post like silly things about my cats. It's not like
excellent content.
Right.
Just put your song behind it, and then put the cat content. You're gonna get views.
I did buy like a mic. I did buy like some sort of setup for the purpose of either recording or like making my own content, for covers or stuff like that. Because I know a lot of people they love covers, and I've posted covers before, but nothing really like with like a really good mic and a good setup. So I mean, I have that stuff. I just haven't really had the time to do something like that.
Yeah.
As far as like Instagram is mainly where I kind of push promotion and stuff. I mean, I'm not complaining. I feel like I have a decent track record. Like, I feel like people are enjoying the content, people are enjoying my music. Like, I know numbers aren't everything, but unfortunately during this day and age, they kind of are, right?
Yeah.
And so especially like Spotify numbers and stuff like which recently I just checked, it's been actually like steadily growing, and I'm really proud, because my experience is, okay, I'll drop a single and it like does really well for the first couple of weeks and it like tapers off. But like recently, I don't know what it is. It's been growing and growing, and like my listeners are growing, and it's a really good, like, I feel really good. I feel like I'm in a good space. Obviously I want to improve and do better, and like you said, focus more like on content creating, to kind of drive up those numbers and drive up, just my music in general. Cause I want more people to listen to it. I want more people to enjoy it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel fine right now.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of pressure of trying to have the right video or the right reel or the right TikTok. But I try not to dwell in that. So
To like, yeah, because at a certain point, I think the content creating takes over what the purpose of the creating content was for, which is to promote like your music or your art or whatever you were trying to do, and then you get stuck into like doing trends. I brought this guy up before, but there's this guy named his band's called Loveless. And he got really popular on TikTok because he was posting covers of stuff. And but he's got a whole band that he's passionate about, and it was completely overshadowed. So he got to the point where people were just asking for covers and like weren't like listening to music. So it's kind of a really like, so he took a step back from like doing stuff like that and was like, oh, okay, let's focus on what the point of this was to promote the band. I do feel like you do need, well, it depends on what your goal is, right? Like if you want more people to listen to you, because there's so many people that are talented musicians. There's so many, like, and it's super ridiculous. Like that's why like when I started this podcast, I'm like, I'm not gonna have a shortage of like people coming through because there's so many good people in this area. Like it's insane, but like how do you stand out from that? Like how do you like, okay, there's a bunch of like good musicians. Like how do you get seen? How do you cut through like some of this noise?
Yeah.
And then you also, people need to know like what, do you have shows coming up? Like,
exactly.
can they come see you? Like, do you have a new song like coming out?
Exactly.
And people like to do that. People like, again, with social media, more people want to feel connected to like the artists that they're listening to. It does get a little, I think there's like a dangerous side to that where you're showing maybe a little too much of your life or this and that. So there's a balance to like everything. But that's one thing that I feel the normal like fan or consumer, just person, like whenever they're listening to music, they like to get, like if they like you, they're going to want to be like, oh, so what do they do? Like, what are they doing right now? Like, are they recording? Are they in the studio? Like, or what is going on in their lives? They want to feel more close, like a lot closer to you. Because they've felt that closeness in like listening to your music, so they want to like feel that like in like a, I guess almost like a person to person kind of style.
Exactly.
So it just makes you more accessible, I think, and people are more comfortable to see you. That's like when I started this, that was my main driving force. Like, I want to make it to where, if you see this, if you like someone comes and sees you at a show or whatever, like to make them more inclined to maybe like approach and say like hi or something, or go to like another show, just to add like on top of like your music that's already like good. Like, okay, let's add like, what's their personality like what are they normally like, what's behind like the process of like how they write stuff or why they do this stuff. So I think it just adds that a little bit more to like people, because I mean at a show you mostly just get a little conversation that you would have like afterwards, because I mean you have to say hi like to all these people,
right?
And that do you how have you dealt with that as far as like new fans that like have like met you and like maybe seeing you for the first time and like or interacting? How do those, how have you been with that? Are you normally pretty well like in social like interactions?
Oh, I'm like the social butterfly.
Yeah.
I would like to say so. I mean, I grew up pretty much an only child, and so I kind of was forced to like make friends. I'm also a Libra. So we're really social. We like to be center of attention and all that other fun stuff. So no, I love when new people are. It's such a good feeling, because especially when people are there just to be there. I remember performing at the Freeman, not this recent one. It was last year. We were at the Frenchman stage, the smaller one.
Oh, okay.
And there was this. I think it was like an older couple with. I think they were like on a double date with another older couple. Very sweet.
Cute.
And they were eating, because it's a cafe, so they were eating food. And I kid you not, they were there the entire 3 hours. Wow. And I didn't know if they were like supporting someone from my band or and then we finished our set and they came up to us and they were like, we were like just in here to eat and we were going to go find music or go do something fun. And then you and your band started performing and we were like, we want to stay and watch the whole thing. And they stayed the entire time. Wow. I was like, wow. And I was like, you didn't have to. Like, no, they were like, no, we wanted to. We were like, we didn't want to go anywhere else. And then recently we performed at Growl Records, which it was like a Thursday night, which, Thursday nights, it's kind of hit or miss, right?
Yeah.
But no, it ended up being packed, and like, we performed with North by North, they're a Chicago-based band, so they're doing their tour. We've performed with them before, and a lot of the lineup was like really like heavy, like rock. So we were like definitely not the same kind of music, but everybody there just loved us, and so many people, so many new faces that I have never seen, and like a lot of people just coming up to me like, oh my god, like how did I not know like you were in the area. And we have Ian Larson who plays trumpet for the band. That was actually some of their first time seeing someone play trumpet live in a band for them.
Really?
Yeah, like some people were like, they were eating it up. They loved the trumpet. They were just like, oh my god, I've never seen this before, and when's your next show? And a lot of people were like, what's your social media? So it was a good time. And because I think a lot of those people probably weren't exposed to like pop R&B, because we did some covers and did some originals, and people were like, we loved Drive. People loved Drive. That's like a huge crowd pleaser, but like it's always a good time when right, it's always a good time when new people, it makes me feel better, because like my friends will come out and support, but like it's conditional. They have to like my stuff.
They have to.
They have to.
They better
like my. They better show up. But it's also just another feeling when it's just unbiased people coming out and either just unintentionally running into you or listening to your music, and that's when you're like, okay, I've made it. Like, people actually enjoy my stuff. It's not somebody just telling me what I want to hear. It's actual people who just stumbled upon my music and said, wow, this is good, or I really enjoyed this. And it does make me feel, I love compliments. It made me feel good. I'm like, okay, so what I'm putting out is not bad.
Yeah.
People actually like it. So
I mean, yeah, it's literally people have nothing to gain from telling you
exactly.
like yes or no, or that they like it or don't like it,
Yep.
So you're like, there's no like you and I don't know, in my head I would be always like, there's no ulterior motive here, like you don't know me, and like
yeah, you don't know me, I don't know you,
yeah.
You don't owe me anything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely like that, a really rewarding feeling. And the cool thing about performing is that you normally get that reaction like right then and there, like live, like, so however the audience is reacting to you, if they're, like I said, they're getting up, they're dancing, they're yelling out or everything. I'm one of those that are always like, woo.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like I guess because like coming from someone like who's performed and stuff before, I was like, I need to make it known that they know that I like this.
Same.
So
I
do that a lot, because I depending on what I'm listening to, but I'm definitely one of those that gets stuck and just pays attention to stuff. So probably my face looks a lot like because I'm like just paying attention to everything. I'm like, exactly. I don't want them to think that I hate this. Like, right. I need to make sure. So I'll be as loud as I can. Like once like there's a little break or in the middle of like some someone hits it like a high note or something, I'm just like, yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, you do have like a trumpet and a sax player, right?
Sax, yes.
Yeah. Which is it's something you don't see frequently, so it's why it's so like really cool to see, especially when it's done really well. You know what I mean? Like both of them are super talented. Like it felt like hearing like horn harmonies in the middle of like songs, and like, again, your band is really good. But I really enjoy that, and it's always a pleasant surprise. But I remember there was a band around here called Meech Pango, and they brought out. You remember Meech Pango?
They actually had me. Long time ago at Caves.
Oh,
but
really?
We opened for them. Yeah,
they were so good. R.I.P. Man, I miss them so much.
I know.
But they had like a section in one of their songs where they would bring out a trombone. Like I remember the first time I saw it, it was hidden, so it's in the back somewhere. So it's a thing they do. So I'm sure their fans knew. But my first time seeing them, I saw it pop out. I'm like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
Like it was so cool, because they're not your normal. Well, what I was listening to at the time, like it wasn't like a normal element to like add. So it was like out of nowhere, like surprising. And it again, I think people like that. People just like being like hit with something they're not quite like expecting. And it's one of my favorite like tropes in like music now. It's like putting something either like something that doesn't seem like you would get. So I like had I've heard a song that was kind of like a heavier song, didn't have a jazz break in the middle, and I'm just like, what is this? I was like, what is happening right now?
That is so cool.
There was a band around here called, it's like one of my favorite like local bands, but I don't know if they're still doing stuff. I don't want to say that they're broken up because I still have hope. But their name was Werewolf Therewolf.
Okay.
And they had a
cool
song
name.
that they would play. very cool name.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and they were super talented. And in the middle of like one of their songs, they have like a salsa break. You know what I mean? It's like real indie or whatever, but then it goes like to like a salsa break. And it's funny, like me and a friend made a little like video where we're dancing like to it, and then like one of their performances they did it live at what used to be Gas Monkeys, now like Amplified.
Okay.
And then like they asked us to come on stage and start dancing. I was like, what the hell am I doing?
So
Like I'm not even really that good at dancing. I'm like, whatever.
But they
like,
knew that you guys,
yeah. They're super fun. So you, like I said, you've been playing for quite a bit. Are there any like groups or artists around here that you're really like big fan of?
Oh yeah. So we just talked about like having a really cool horn section. Artemis Funk.
Artemis Funk is so good.
So good. Everything is just so clean and so good and so groovy, and I love anytime they don't perform a lot, but like anytime they do, I'm like, oh, I want to go see them.
Yeah.
'Cause they're so good. But oh my God, they're so good. Pat, he's so good. I don't know if you know Pat.
I don't know Pat.
Pomboy. So he has his own like group, like it's I think Pat Pombuena and the community orchestra. Okay. So he gets like different people from other local bands to perform with him. And he has horns, the whole thing, and he does his own thing, and it's just so like that. Every single person in that group is just, they're crazy talented. Yeah. But yeah, that's one band where I'm always like, yes, I want to see them.
I'm gonna need to look them up.
Yeah, they're always a good time. They're so good live. And the Cherry, of course, I can't. They're so good. A couple of their members actually kind of helped me out starting. So I know Justin King, who played drums for me for a little bit, and then Luis Moreno. He also he played bass for me for a little bit, and then Jenna's been just with me the entire time, playing keys. Yeah. So they're fantastic. I love their music.
Yeah, really good.
I'm trying to think. There's so many bands.
There's a bunch.
Big Shug is another really great one. Kaze or Angie. She sings background vocals for me, but she's like their frontman pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's fantastic vocalist. I met her in my acapella group, and she's so good. It's so much talent. Like it's hard to just name any individual band, but those are a few of my favorites.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw Artemis Funk. Actually, wasn't that long ago. It was like I saw them for the first time like last year, I think.
Okay.
At the Green Elephant, and they were just completely, because I was going there to see Flight by Nothing. It was coming up from Austin.
So good too.
So good. Yes. So freaking good. And then they were playing right before, I think one or two bands before, and I was just like, what is happening? Like they're just so, you can tell that they all know how to like play with each other for so long, because like their stage dynamic was fantastic. They're back and forth. They have multiple vocalists like doing stuff at the same time, multiple leads being taken, and I'm just like, I was just enthralled. I'm like, this is so fun. I go, and I've realized like with live shows and stuff, it always takes more than like the music being good. I always look for like that dynamic with people. Like if you look like you're having fun, like it's gonna be 1,000 times better, like my reaction to it, because of that. And they were one of those bands that were just like that. They were super good, and like they you could tell like they love what they were playing live. And I've got, like I said, I need to find more chances to see them, but like you were saying, they don't play incredibly often. But yeah, they are super talented. What was my thought? I got sucked into Artemis Funk. I completely like forgot where I was going. Oh my gosh, I feel so dumb right now.
It happens. It'll come back. It'll
come back. So yeah, you have quite a bit of live performances coming up. Oh yeah, that's right. Now I know what it is. The acapella group thing.
Yeah.
So you were doing that in college, but you, like I said, you just went and did like a performance. So you guys still like get together and like practice and play? Is it something like you're still currently like in participating?
So it's kind of like a semi-professional group that it's called Vibe. Okay. It's some of the same original members that were in the previous in the college acapella group, but we're all done with school. I'm still in school, but master's. But like some of us just wanted to keep doing acapella, and so some of them actually are like in Tennessee. So we didn't actually rehearse until the day before we had to perform.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but Caleb Moore, he's a fantastic arranger. He puts all our music together. But yeah, it's some semi-professional group. I'm actually going to perform or compete with them in Voice Jam. It's a competition in Arkansas that they have every year. But we we competed last year as well. We ended up getting first place, which was really like a lot of fun.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a good time, and like won best arrangement, best choreo. It was pretty good. It was fun. And so we're doing it again just because again I did it for so long, and I do miss them, and I do love performing and singing with them. So I'm like, any opportunity that I can to perform on stage with them, it's a lot of fun.
So how is like, I mean, obviously, like those rehearsals are going to be a lot different than
Yeah.
like your typical band. But you have choreography, you have the actual like vocal parts that you're doing. How does the arrangement get handled? Like, do you basically, how do you know what you're singing here at this point? It's
Oh,
like kinda
well, you
like
have to read music. So he pretty much puts sheet music together and
Okay.
assigns you a voice part. So I'm typically an alto one or mezzo soprano. And then so I'll just go and again, like I don't really know music theory that much, but I kind of forced myself on how to learn to sight read like my senior year of high school. So that's helped me a lot.
Yeah.
So like I can to a certain point like solfege and sight read and also he creates these like part tracks. And so I do a lot of ear training too. So I'll just stick it in my ear and I'll look at my notes and I'm like, okay, this is what I do. This is what I sing. And then when we come together for rehearsal, typically you want to have your music down. It doesn't have to be memorized. But then we'll go over like dynamics. So we need to be loud here. We need to be quiet here. We need to do a lot of, make it wide here, so just have your mouth spread apart like that, and it's
that's
just
a thing?
yeah, that is. Well, I mean, because then you get different vowel sounds, and you want to make sure everyone's doing the same vowel sound. Otherwise, it's gonna sound wonky. So it's a lot more focus on the vocal part. It's a lot more vocally challenging than it is me singing with my band because it's me and my band, and I'm the only me and my background singers, but it's a lot more demanding vocally, and you really got to remember what you need to be doing in the moment because you have to be matching everybody else because there's no instrument. It's all our mouths and our voices.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more, I guess, challenging. So, but it's a lot of fun. I love it. I love it. I love being tested like that. So.
Well, I mean, I feel like every one of those like events just keeps the drive and the interest in like it's singing. You love to sing, so it's kind of like any opportunity that I can get to kind of like work on that or not. It's not even, it is work. It does challenge you, but it ends up getting better. And I'm sure like stuff like that helps in writing like your own personal music and like kind of which is again, it's something like when we talk about influences, like stuff like that is all the stuff that bleeds over into like what you're already writing. Plus like being around, like I said, with bands and in like that group, all this like time in a community of musicians, it's just like the right people to be around. You know what I mean? If that's like what you love doing, you want to be around people that are driven in that way and know how to like interact with music. You want to keep most of those like people around you, so that you're able to again just keep up your own drive with it and keep up your own creativity. And I think it's nice being around a community that kind of understands like where you're coming from when you're talking about like being an artist or you're talking about singing or all this stuff. Someone who actually like, can get it, because I've had that a couple instances where I'm trying to talk about maybe music or maybe even like anything else particular. But if you're out of that realm, it's kind of like, well, I'm listening and I want to like know what you're talking about, but I kind of like don't. So it's nice to have a community around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And music in general, I think it's one of like my biggest things, like with playing music, with being around like the music scene for so long, is that sense of community of just going to shows just to go. Like you were saying about the couple earlier who was just like out and about, like just trying to find something to do. I like that idea so much of like showing up to shows, not particularly because like I know the person who's playing or this and that, but just to go and enjoy like music. Me and my roommate were doing this for a while. We were going out every Tuesday, like a random day out of the week, and we would find any show that was playing, and we were just like, let's just go. We'll find it, see what it was. And it was just like a way. It was nice. Like it was nobody we knew most of the time. It was just like something happening. But again, you were around people that were out to watch music. You know what I mean? So you'd find people that you had something in common. Because I was a little bit. It's weird because I do feel like people perceive me as being social, and then at a certain point, I kind of am, but I'm also kind of not. So even like I was going to shows and I'm like not talking to anybody, and I'm like, you know what, this is crazy because literally everyone here to see this band, like we're all seeing the same like band together. I go, so we probably have something in common that we could talk to each other about. But have you had any like concerts or shows that you've been to like recently or planning to go to like this year that like really excite you, like, or any like artists that really excite you?
Ooh, yes. So I just got a ticket to go to, gosh, I forgot the fest name, but James Blake is who I wanted to go see.
Okay.
Yeah, and Steve Lacy is also a part. Mainly, I want to see James Blake.
James Blake.
It's oh god, he's so good. I think he produces all of his songs. But he has a song with like SZA, but like I like he did like a song with Rosalia, Barefoot in the Park. He's just so good, and I've been wanting to see him for years. Like I've been listening to his music for so long, and Steve Lacy's cool too. I mean, I'm a fan of the internet, so I doubt he'll be doing any internet stuff. But it's just I'm excited for that. And then. Gosh, I feel like I was going to go see... I'm planning on going to ACL, so whatever the lineup is.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I went to ACL in 2021, and I got to see some amazing artists, so...
I want to go to like... I want to go to like a big fest like that. Because the biggest one I've been to was probably like Voodoo Fest in New Orleans.
Okay. That's pretty big.
Which is pretty tight. Like it was... And I didn't like... It was one of those where I just went to go. Like I think my friend had an extra like ticket. Someone bailed, and I'm like,
nice.
Sure, I'll go on a trip.
Right.
And yeah, I saw a bunch of like really cool people. I think like Janelle Monáe out of nowhere. I was like, I didn't know they were playing. Yeah, great live show. I forgot who other like random people. I saw Lizzo play there super early before I knew who Lizzo was.
Hey.
Rainbow Kid and Surprise, like a bunch of like really good artists. But like ACL's so close, and I'm like, I've never been to like ACL or like I think I went to South by Southwest once, but it was like a day trip. Like I literally like left in the morning, spent the entire day over there, and came back like that same day. And I just went to all the free stuff. Like I was like, I didn't have like, I was like, what can we go? And I remember my only like my favorite memory from that is that we had been out all day, and we finally went to like the park where they were having like the big stages or whatever, and there was no one performing at the time. And I was tired, so I fell asleep, like in the middle of like the thing, and they were like having a picnic or whatever. So I was just I'll fall asleep, and I woke back up, and my friend's like, "Wake up!" And I'm like, "What happened?" And then it's like, "Look." And I like a giant crowd has like formed, and I was still like laying on the floor. And
people are like, "Is he okay?"
I think like in that festival, people expected it. I guess I was like, I'm just sleepy. Like,
that's so funny.
But I woke up, and then the Strokes were playing, like literally, like
oh my god,
like you're in the middle of like Reptilia, and I'm like, what? I thought I was like
like a dream, fever dream. Yeah.
I was just like, what is I'm going crazy, and he's like, it's the Strokes, and I'm like, okay, to just like hang out, and I'm like, man, I was like literally falling asleep.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it was really cool. But like the fest experience, like I want to just like go for it, because like in that day, like I was still like, oh, like I still need to worry about getting home. Like I worked the next day at like 5 or something.
Yeah.
This was a while back, but I would like to go to one of those with like not another care in the world. I'm just here like to see music like the entire day, like spending the whole day out there and like having that experience. So
it's a good time.
Yeah. Definitely. I need to look into going to one of those.
You should. Yeah. I got to see like Erykah Badu. Oh my god. So like, I mean, I know of her. Listen to her music. She's from.
I didn't know she was from.
She's from here.
So dumb. Like,
yeah. And so I knew she was on the lineup, and I was like, I'm gonna go see her. And I was with a couple of friends who had never really. I mean, I think they've heard of her, but they've never like listened to her music or anything or knew anything about her. And I think we were gonna go halfway through to go see. Is it Alice in Wonder? It's the DJ. I forgot her name, but it's like a play on Alice in Wonderland. But we were gonna like go halfway, and I was like, that's fine. But no, her set, like probably hands down my favorite set out of anybody I had seen like Meg the Stallion, I had seen Doja, I had seen Miley, I had seen some really like, I saw Remy Wolf was really good. But like I saw some really incredible acts, and I was like, Erykah Badu hands down, like best live show out of the entire AC. Like my friends, we ended up forgetting to go to the other DJ. We just stayed there the entire time, and then we were gonna go see Tyler, because Tyler was one of the main acts.
Really?
Tyler Creator, yeah. Kind of disappointing.
Really?
I know. I heard he's supposed to be really good. I think it was just maybe the crowd energy wasn't really that great. So But yeah, it was, and they stayed. They were like, "Oh my god, we love her," and
Yeah.
I'm like, "I know, she's really good."
Like, good, we got to stay.
It was the band was fan. It was a good time.
So I randomly saw Erica Badu because do you know who Mark Rebier is?
No.
So he's this guy who does like all these like loop track improv like tracks. You
okay.
might have seen him. Because he's weird. Like he'll just like start like loops. So every show that he does is like an improvisation show. So like everything is no show is gonna be the same. Like it's all different. And it was kind of in the middle of the pandemic. He did like a drive when they were doing like the drive-in shows.
Okay.
So he did one of those, and it's like the first one to come to Fort Worth. So I'm like, I feel like this is history. Like, let me go.
Right.
So me and my friend went, and he was like playing a show and doing like all this wild stuff, and we're like entertained, and all of a sudden like Erica Badu shows up out of nowhere and does like a whole like improv like set like with him, and
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
I was like looking, I was like, what the fuck? And then but that's when I realized like she lives like
Yeah.
here, and it's like yeah, so she just like stopped by and like did that. I'm like, I never in my life thought I was gonna see like Erica Badu like out of nowhere like
That
to
is
plan to
so
go, but I thought
cool.
that was so cool. But she seems really cool and obviously incredibly talented. Yeah. Yeah, but I think festivals are good for that reason. You see so many like really cool artists all like in the same place,
Exactly.
and just have to walk around like stage to stage. The only hard part is like figuring out who's gonna get missed, or like if someone's playing at the same time.
Yeah, I had to do a lot of that. I was like, okay, well, who do you want to go see? Yasmeen. I'm like, all right, I want to see that. And I want to be like at the front, sort of. So yeah, you figure it out. But
yeah, that too. Like depending on what the crowds are like, is like how to get the best like view and like and sound, and how to get to the front, interact like. And I know it's crazy the people that stay up front like throughout the whole thing.
I know.
I'm like, how do you go to the bathroom?
I did that for Remy, but I didn't wait that long. I think I waited like 30 minutes or maybe 45 minutes.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and I was at the front, so it was. Sometimes it works out. So
yeah, there's a bunch of like really big artists that I am still like so behind on, and it makes me like feel bad and guilty. But Remy Wolf was one of that, like because I saw the like a clip of her playing with Kenny Beats like on the NPR.
Yeah, the Tiny
and
Desk.
I was just like literally the Tiny Desk. And I heard her singing, and I'm like, "What the?" I'm like, "How did like I miss this?" And I go back and I start listening to. I'm like, I have heard you. I just like it's been like here and there.
exactly.
Like,
Never actually sat down, and her music is
Yes.
so good. She's so good.
Yeah, I like really unorthodox like songs put together, and I think she's got obviously a really really good voice, but the songs aren't like structured as like a typical song that I would like.
know.
Your basic
I love
things,
it.
and I like
love
that.
it.
Yeah, I like that. Like I was a big fan. There was Tierra Whack. Do you know who Tierra Whack?
Yeah,
is?
I do.
So she put out the most fascinating thing I found was the Instagram album.
Okay.
So she did because it popped up randomly. I think it was something else was playing like an R&B station on Spotify or something, and then it comes up and there's one song and it sounds super good and it's over right away, and I'm like, what? I go, did it skip? And I go back and I listen to it and it cuts off at the same place, and I'm like, what is? I go, is it glitching? I go find the album and I'm like, okay, here it is, and I play the song and it stops at the same point, and I'm like. And I go and I listen to the whole album from the first song. There's like 15 tracks on it, first song to the last one, and they all do that. They all cut off at a certain. I'm like, what is this? And I finally like researched it. It was an album released exclusively through Instagram when you can only record up to a minute. So it was all these songs that were only a minute long, and she didn't go back and like create full versions of these songs, which maybe kind of upsets me because they're really good, like, and they're really catchy. But it was like a 15-minute album that literally was released in Instagram videos.
I didn't
like on Instagram.
know that.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's
Wow.
literally, if I ever needed like time 15 minutes for myself, that's the one I'll play.
That's
this.
so a little workout. 15. That's so
I do that a
cool.
lot. Like I'm like, oh, I have 15 minutes to get ready for something? I'm like, play it. Like,
Hey, that's.
I'll know like
I
when it's
gotta
getting
go.
close to the
See,
end.
I know. I mean, I like her music. I didn't know she did that. Though.
I think it's called Whack World. I think is what the album is called.
Oh, then I must know what the songs are. Then.
But yeah. But they're like I said, they're all around a minute or something.
Oh,
but I'm
it's
like,
so
it's so cool. Like it's so
cool.
cool, and creative. But yeah, all these like again, I keep saying weird, and I hope that's not offensive to like them. But I go, that's what I mean. I go, it's just like it's so far from the norm.
Oh
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
I love it. I'm sick of hearing the same AB type structure.
And
songs.
it is. I have a a love hate for it because I'm like some of like the songs that are like that structure. I'm like those are really catchy. I go, but it's also I need the balance of like I need something that I can't guess like where it's going.
Exactly.
And stuff like that is really cool.
That's kind of how I did or wrote Again. I didn't like. I was like, I'm just gonna do a verse, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, a call it a day. I was like, I don't want to add a bridge and have to go back to the chorus. I'm like, why would I need to do that? I said what I needed said in 2 minutes, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
I think you always find like what the song needs, like nothing more, nothing less. You know what I mean? So I don't because there was a point where I was like looking at music and I would look through it, it's like, oh, this song's not long enough. It needs to reach like the 4 or 5 minute mark or something.
Ugh, yeah.
I remember saying that, and then like now I'm like, no, if this is where it's good, and like I add something to it just to make that time, I go, it's not a part of that original plan, you know what I mean? So it's not gonna be as well integrated like into that song as it could have been, or the song didn't need it. And now you see, like I said, you see stuff with like, you know, 2-minute songs, you say what you need to say and like get out, or you know, you see even longer songs that kind of encapsulate a lot more stuff, but it's got to be done like in a tasteful way. Like it's got to make sense.
Exactly.
I guess is the right way to kind of look at it.
Exactly.
But so currently, do you have any? You have a lot of back catalog. You don't like that's gonna stay in there. It's gonna eat at me because I want to hear all these songs. But you do have a few shows coming up, right? So the one on the 3rd, but then you have a maybe 2 or 3 more after that.
So I was supposed to do kind of like a solo show at I think on the 19th, but I ended up having to cancel it. I'm going to be out of town. So but my next show with the band is going to be I think on the 31st. It's going to be at Ruins.
Oh,
and it's going to be like a pop oriented show where it's like all the artists are going to be pop. I think we're going to be the only band, like full band playing. I think everyone else might be doing tracks.
Okay.
But yeah, it'll be on the 31st at Ruins. I think it's on a Friday, March 31st.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be a good time.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I want to appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate you spending time here. Like I said, we're all pretty big fans, so we're excited for all the stuff that you're working on and coming out with. So anything that you put out, send it our way. We'll be able to promote as much as we can.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for stopping by. This has been episode 61 with Yasmeen, and thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys next time.
Sounds and breakdowns. Better lose your man. We should run away together while we still can.